Hello crafty friends, I'm Lean from Studio Kato and I'm so happy to be back on the Alex Siberia Designs YouTube channel today with another video for a second collaboration hop with Catherine Pooler. So I am using Catherine Pooler inks throughout this video. I really love them. This is the third card I made for it, but these hops were the first time I used Catherine Pooler inks and I'm very happy with them. On Instagram, you can head on over and leave some comments to join the hop and get some chances on winning a gift card to the Alex Siberia Designs store or the Catherine Pooler Design store. All of the information for that will be linked in the description below. I am using the Create Your Own Happy stamp set from Alex Siberia Designs today, and I am first stamping the leaves in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I thought some black leaves would change it up a little bit and really make the colors in this card pop. So I'm stamping those twice using the MISTI. It's really easy. You just flip the page around, and I am stamping it twice to get a good impression as well, because I want to add embossing powder to this later on. So the more ink is there, the better the embossing powder will stick to it. I am using Wow embossing powder. This is just some clear gloss embossing powder to make that black shine. You can also stamp with Versamark ink and emboss with black embossing powder. I never use black embossing powder because when you get a fleck of black embossing powder where you don't want it, it's a lot more noticeable than clear. Now for the flowers, I want to stamp these two-tone. These have a sort of watercolor look to them, and I thought I'd enhance that with the ink and stamp it in a two-tone color. So I'm first using the Tiki Torch ink from Catherine Pooler, and I'm inking up about half of the flower, and I'm dabbing away some ink with a cloth. In my previous video, I think I used my sleeve because I do that sometimes too. Just anything to dab away some of that excess ink. You can see you get a fun ombre effect that way as well. So you can do this with one color of ink, but I like to then go in with a second color. I'm using pink here. I completely forgot what this ink color was called, but I will leave it in the description below. And I'm doing the same thing, just dabbing away at the center to make that blend out a little bit. And whatever you do before you ink up the second color, do not clean off your stamps from your first color. You want that color there to add to that ombre effect. It's just going to make things a lot more smooth if you leave that excess ink there. That's why it's also important that you stamp with your lightest ink first and then go in with your darkest ink because you won't contaminate your ink pads that way. I am stamping each color twice to get a really good impression because sometimes you don't ink it up to the center or you don't ink it up a little bit enough. So yeah, it's just easier to just stamp it twice the first time around. These flowers do have some centers, and I'm stamping those in black ink as well, that same VersaFine Onyx Black. There's a different center for each flower, but they are located in the stamp set right next to the flower they belong to, so it's really easy to find. I die-cut the fancy background cover die from Alex Siberia Designs, just from some white cardstock, and I am taping off a frame around the edges. I'm just using some purple tape for that, and I'm lining it up on my grid mat and seeing that I have 2 squares on my grid mat, which is 2 centimeters. Just follow the lines on your grid mat, and that's going to make for a nice straight frame. I'm using some Aquatini ink here, also from Catherine Pooler, and I am blending on a little bit heavier towards the bottom left and a little bit lighter towards the top right. My flower cluster is going to sit in the bottom left, so it's going to draw the eye there a little bit more. Now to peel away that tape is always so satisfying after you've done some stenciling or some ink blending. It's just really, really nice to do that. Once that was done, I have put strips of foam tape on the back of this panel to prop it up. You can also double it up if you just want some dimension, but I like when you have a cover die that has some tiny little gaps in it, it's just really nice to have it appear like it's floating off the card. It's not the same effect you get as stacking up that die. Now I'm just arranging all of these bits and pieces. This took me a while to do. I had already done it before I started recording, so I knew where everything would go and how many pieces I would need. I'm just gluing down those leaves and foliage, and then once that's done, I can put in my flowers. I'm just gluing 2 of them straight down, but the one that sits in the front of everything, I'm going to put some foam tape behind to prop it up a little bit. The leaves are also not adhered completely down. I just put some glue towards the bottom of the leaves, and the tops are floating upwards, so that creates some nice dimension and movement as well. For my sentiment, I am going to use the lovely Smile sentiment from Alex Iberia Designs. In their first release, the Kickstarter release, there were beautiful sentiments. You can still get those, of course, but I really like how dainty these are. And don't let that scare you. I also like to stack up my sentiments, and that's really easy to do, even if they are so dainty. The only thing you have to do is dab off your excess glue with a scrap piece of cardstock, like you saw me do there. So just put some glue on there. Don't really worry about how much you're adding on. It does help that this is a precision tip, but you really don't need it. Just put some bits of the glue on, and yeah, just dab off the excess with a scrap piece of cardstock. For the little tittle on the eye, I am using a jewel picker to adhere that down, and once that's done, I can put this on my card. I'm putting it right over the foliage, so it doesn't stand out a lot, but I like it that way. It's just a little sentiment peeking through. I hope you like the card, and I hope you like the video. I had a lot of fun making it, and I really like those shiny black leaves embossed, and then those really bright flowers. Yeah, just popping off the page there. I hope you like the video, and I hope you pop on over to Instagram, see all the inspiration from the other designers, and you can win some gift cards there. So that's always fun. I will leave the links to that in the description below, and I hope you check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.